Well, hello, everybody. It is Dennis and Andy, and we're back with another movie review in a few. If you've never watched one before, we review a movie in the first few minutes, give you our overall thoughts, no spoilers. We rate it for you, and then we pause and we do a spoiler filled review. So if you want to just hear it with no spoilers, give us about 5-6 minutes of your time. About 20 if you want to hear the spoilers. We'll let you know. Don't worry. This week's movie is I gotta look at the title again. I'm so dumb. A Haunting in Venice. Everybody knows my memory. I keep wanting to say The Haunting, but it's A Haunting.
A Haunting in Venice, which, this is the third of the Agatha Christie's novels that were adapted, but this one was not a direct adaptation. This was actually based off of Halloween Party, the 1969 novel from Agatha Christie. So they made some adaptations, changed some stuff around, and they moved the location to Venice. And Kenneth Branagh plays Hercule Poirot. And I always hate pronouncing that.
I was going to say, there's no way I'm even trying. I'm just going to say Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah, that was actually pretty awesome. He was really good in the first two, and this one wasn't going to be a straight whodunit because they introduced something that they didn't in the original book, a little bit of a supernatural, but he reprises his role, and of course a murder has to happen, and he winds up doing that, and this one takes place, like I said, instead of in London, this one takes place in Venice. And I will tell you right now, it's beautiful. It's stunning. Once again, all these movies, their locations are just fantastic.
Yeah, Kenneth Branagh also directed this. Tina Fey is the big co-star in it, which is a weird because she's not known for stuff like this. Like Dennis said, the basic story is Tina Fey comes a knocking. She's an author, and she pulls Kenneth Branagh's character into this mystery where there's a seance at this woman's house who the woman's daughter, adult daughter, I should say, not a kid or anything, died mysteriously the previous year. So they bring over this medium to conduct a seance, and Tina Fey's character is basically like, I want you to check this out and see if you believe or not, I guess is the best way to say it. It's a tight movie in regards to it's only an hour and 43 minutes long. You tack in the trailers, you're in and out in 2 hours. Nobody really stuck out to me in the supporting cast. The actress, and Dennis can tell you the actors' names. The actress that played the mom, I recognized her. I recognized her, and I recognized the actress that played the medium that was doing the seance. Other than that, the other ones didn't really stick out to me.
Yeah, so the characters in this, Michelle Yeoh is, you if you guys have watched me at all, she's all the way back from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. She's one of my favorite actresses. Jamie Dornan winds up playing Dr. Ferrier, and he was fantastic. The doctor, I really liked his character. You alluded, Tina Fey. She usually plays something with comedic chops. There was no comedy in this character. I thought she did a good job for what she did. There were a few things she did that kind of pulled me out, but if there was a weak link, I would say it was Tina Fey's character.
Yeah, I agree.
Everybody else in there, Ricardo Scamarcio, he's the one who plays Vitali's like his bodyguard. He's from John Wick 2, and he's a great bodyguard. He really fits the role. The mother, she was fantastic. You get a little bit of the daughter. They've got the supporting.
Who's the actress that played the mother?
Let's see. Camille Cotton. She's the one that played Olga, and Well, that is so weird. Kelly Riley is the one who
That's
played
it.
the
I knew
lady.
I recognized her.
Yeah, and they all I thought were quite good in this movie. Pride and Prejudice. She was in Sherlock and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'll say Tina Fey. I'm with you, and we'll get into more about this in the spoiler side of things. I say she was the weakest link. You are the weakest link. Um, Other than that, I did think the rest of the cast held up. Was it super suspenseful, this movie? I don't think so. Um, could you, it's a whodunit. Could you, if you follow along, they drop enough clues to lead you along. I figured out, once again, save more of this for the spoiler section. I figured out a few things before the end, but I did not figure it all out. Let's rate this puppy so we can move on to the spoiler side of things. Dennis, you're back from vacay, so I will let you go first. You go
All right.
first.
I am giving this one an 8.0. I thought it was solid. I didn't think it was extraordinary. I'll get into a little more in the spoiler section about how I did really enjoy the supernatural touch with this. I thought it was a solid one. You're right. I picked up some of the pieces, but there were few that I know I missed and that maybe I have to go back, or maybe the clues weren't there. But overall, it was an enjoyable movie. First act was great. The setup was. The middle act a little slow. Third
Yeah.
act was really good. And overall, I would recommend it. If you enjoyed the first two movies, I think you will enjoy the third installment.
So I am giving it a 7.5. I think out of the three movies, go back to use a phrase I just used, this one is the weakest link. I did enjoy it, and I totally agree with Dennis. I was going to say overall it felt a little sluggish, but it was really that middle section that was.
And
So yeah, I'm giving it
I can't say it was too long. I mean,
no.
the runtime was, although short, was pretty perfect. I'm glad they didn't make it longer.
Yeah. So I'm giving it a 7.5. Those are our reviews. We always end with IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes. So let's see what they say.
Is a 6.8, and they're always a little bit lower. And 77% on the audience and critics. So holy
Look at
smokes,
that.
everybody agrees. Solid movie, it looks like, across the board. It's worth a watch. And yeah, you don't even need to have a bunch of beer to enjoy this one.
There you go, guys. That's it. Now, moving on to the spoiler-filled review. If you don't want spoilers, leave now. Thank you for joining us. Like, subscribe, and share. 3, 2, 1. Spoiler time. So Tina Fey, I do want to touch on her. She is known for comedic stuff, of course, and there's no comedy in this, but some of her dialogue and just her acting throughout, I thought her acting throughout, and I like Tina Fey, but I thought it was kind of one note on how she delivered everything. It was the same way. It was, there was sarcasm in her lines, but there just wasn't really variation to her acting in this, I thought. What do you think?
No, I'm kind of there with you. Like I said, I also like her, and I was very interested to see what kind of a character she would play, and the sarcastic American that's a little pushy, and like I said, it was okay. I was a little disappointed in it, but it wasn't terrible, nor did it knock me out of the movie. It just gave me a bit of pause. Let's put it that way.
I guess I'm kind of wondering, out of all the female actresses out there, what about Tina Fey did they say this is the part she has to play? And once again, I'm not downplaying her in any way. I just didn't see this. Like, you see actors in roles and you think to yourself that, oh my God, that's perfect. That's great. So I'm not exactly sure when they were in the production side of things, how they landed on Tina Fey for this role.
Right.
You
Well,
know, Kenneth Branagh.
but I was just gonna say, but she was it. Kenneth plays his usual self, and if you've enjoyed him, he was absolutely fantastic. Michelle Yeoh, that's who I mentioned earlier.
Yes,
she was fantastic in this role as Mrs. Reynolds, the medium,
the
she's
psychic.
the one who led the seance. Oh, absolutely. I loved her in everything that she did in this. When she wasn't in the movie very much, but when she was, she took the oxygen out of the room.
Yeah, she's always fantastic.
Yes.
So spoiler wise, the basic gist is, and you get this from the trailer, but you find out more, of course. The woman's daughter, a year previous, roughly, they live in this huge, we'll go with house, in Venice. It obviously all the canals and stuff. From the very top floor where her bedroom is, she ends up taking a dive over the balcony into the water below, drowning. They bring in this medium, Michelle Yeoh, to hold a seance so the mother can hear the daughter's voice again. Was it a murder? Wasn't it a murder? So that's the first thing that Kenneth Branagh's character needs to figure out. The second is Michelle Yeoh's character, and we won't spoil how and why, but Michelle Yeoh's character bites the dust in the movie. And this all takes place over the course of one night. So now there's a second murder to figure out. And then the doctor ends up biting the dust in the movie as well. So there's 3 murders for Kenneth Branagh to solve over the course of the night. And of course, and you see this in the trailer, after the first one of Michelle Yeoh, he locks everybody in and basically says, look, the murderer's here. Nobody's leaving till morning, when the cops show up. We're, this is how it's going to be. We need to figure this out.
So the premise is they're in Venice. The cops can't come because there's a massive storm.
Big storm.
Obviously, you have to get everywhere with gondolas and boats, and that's not possible. So he locks it in, and this whole thing takes place not only on Halloween, Hallows Eve, but with this being the storm, they actually even allude to it where this is, and it was the child, I believe, who came out. It was the doctor's son, who's played by Jude Hill. He was a really cool, kind of creepy, super intelligent young man wearing glasses, and he's talking about how between him and Michelle Yeoh, you find out that the supernatural, the ghosts and spirits, this is where they're closest to basically the plane. Well, obviously, the detective doesn't believe in any of this. This is all hogwash. Everything can be done through, every crime can be solved through facts and straight logic. So that was kind of the neat twist of this, because you've got a bit of supernatural now that's creeping into this. And all of a sudden, as he's trying to figure out things, he's starting to see and hear voices and see things that nobody else is seeing. So now there's a little bit of doubt. Is it creeping into his mind, or is he able to explain everything away? And that's where the neat twist takes place, differs from the original novel. None of this was in there. There were multiple murders, multiple suspects. And this one, it all kind of boils down very neatly. The doctor bites it, by, being stabbed in the back, but it's totally different in this movie than it was in the original book.
Well, he's in a room that supposedly there's only one way in and one way out, and the mother locks him. The doctor basically needs rest. So they put him in this room, and to protect him, she locks the door and gives the only key to Kenneth Branagh. So that's the mystery, is how did he die if he's in this room by himself? The little boy that Dennis mentioned, I thought he was fantastic. Little creepy kid, but he was really good. The doctor's son. One of the things, talking about how we brought up earlier, that wasn't like one of the things I figured out, because this is spoiler, is you know, when Kenneth Branagh's character started hearing things and seeing things throughout the night, you know, my first inclination wasn't like, oh my God, this place is really haunted. It was, okay, he's been slipped a Mickey of some sort. Somebody must have drugged him. You know, that was the first thing I thought. I mean, it's just, you know, from these type of movies that it's not going to be any supernatural stuff. You know, there's going to be a logical explanation. So right out of the gate, I was like, okay, somebody slipped them something. Now I didn't know what, but when they finally revealed what it was, which we won't say, I was like, oh, okay, I missed that, but that makes sense.
Well,
What about
see,
you?
that was the part that I actually caught, because the doctor sitting there, or not the doctor, the father, and they were like, "Oh, you need to put it on there," and he's like, "Oh, well, that's not so and so, that's this," and I was like, "Oh, well, they specifically referenced that
Right.
earlier," so I put that two together. I'm like, "All right, it has something to do with it," but I don't know, because I'm not a botanist, so it didn't hit me. But once it was explained in the end, you're like, aha. So I picked up on the clue, but full well not knowing how those ramifications. But it was well thought out and well done. And the person that you think of the entire movie is Olga. She's kind of like the assistant, the nursemaid that was helping. She's got kind of motive. She's got access to everything. Everything seems to point towards her. So I'm like, yeah, I know it's not her, but they do such a good job of bringing her character. And she was another standout outside of Michelle Yeoh. Her character was fantastic. She was very believable. All of her dialogue was dead on. Everything made sense when it went in there. I thought she was a great standout.
Yeah, so did I. Yeah, so I don't think we're going to give away who did it. This was a very cool scene in the movie as well. This is the mother on the balcony of the room that her daughter died in, and look behind her. Is that a ghost? What do you think, Dennis?
This was the interesting thing, where once again the detectives like, oh no, no, everything can be explained. And then there's this scene where all the interesting thing happens, and he sees that, and then something proceeds to happen. And all I'm going to say is, at that moment, I think the detective suddenly becomes questioning everything
Right.
that he knows. Most of the entire way, he was trying to find ways around it. And all these little things, like you alluded to, he was slipped a Mickey, he was hallucinating. At this moment, he kind of feels and senses something. So there's a change in the doctor that I think alludes to the fact that he is now grown as an individual. And that's the cool thing. He wasn't just this great detective. He's not Batman, where he's always Batman. There's personal growth within him. And I think this was the moment. And I think it was incredibly well done.
Yeah, so do I. So if you guys want to check out a good movie to go into the Halloween season, I would recommend it. I think Dennis gave it an 8. I gave it a 7.5. The overall online was 77. If you like the previous two, like I said, I think this is the weakest link out of the previous two, but that doesn't mean it's not worth a watch. Kenneth Branagh was great. The rest of the cast was. I'm curious to think what you guys think about Tina Fey. I thought she was the weakest link. Not awful, just the weakest link. So let us know what you think. And this is not the weakest link. This is Kor-Drath The Reckoning. I've been wearing the beanie there in. Once t-shirts come in, we can start shipping these babies out. It shows $86,828. Guys, we ran a Kickstarter in the spring. Combining the totals, were over 91,000. Remember, the next stretch goal at 100,000, and this will be the last stretch goal, will be the addition of the Bud Root 4-page story. This is a 2-page spread that Dan Lawless, the guy that colored Bud's cover, is coloring the 4-page story. And Dan, isn't even done with this. This is work in progress. He is hitting a home run on this stuff. Him and Bud make a fantastic team. We really want to get this 4-page story to you, a nice 80-page book. We put the black and white Bud Root cover back up, scanned right from his original art. So it's like looking at and holding the original. Of course, there's the full color variant cover, which you can get anytime. This is limited. It won't be up for long. So check it out. Keep sharing. Sharing is caring. The link is in the description below. Go check it out. Check out all the goodies you can get. The 20 page game module is going through the proofreading process right now, so we can get that to the printer. The character card mini prints that are playable characters are shooting off to the printer probably today. This is what one of them looks like, 7x10, featuring one is Adriana, one is Kor-Drath, one is Lilneth. This is the Necronite. You can play these characters in Kor-Drath the Reckoning, the role-playing game, or any other of your favorite RPG games as well. Just convert the stats. So with your help, we can get to that 100,000 to get you that 4-page story. Once Bud draws the 4th page, which he's working on now, so once he completes it, I will put up a tier where you can buy all 4 pages of the story. So check it out. We love you guys for your support. We're so close to the finish line on this, getting it to the printer so we can get it shipping in November, like we said. Other than that, thank you for joining us on this movie review. We'll be back with another one. Got to figure out what we're seeing. And next Wednesday, 3 p.m. on the Dennis and Andy Show, Gary Martin is joining us to talk about his book, his art book, and comics from the 60s. We already did the 2000s, 90s, 80s, and 70s. Go check out our previous videos. Next week, we're talking the 60s. Gary was alive and reading comics then. Dennis and I were born in 69, but we buy back issues, so we have knowledge. All right, guys, until next time, bye-bye, everybody.
Live long and fast.